homes?
I've been clear that my top responsibility as Mayor is to ensure the safety and security of Londoners. That's why I appointed Lord Harris to undertake his review. I very much welcome his report, including the recommendations it makes on housing. He suggests that we consult boroughs and the Corporation of London on an alteration to the London Plan to formally identify the need for specialist emergency services worker housing as an important planning issue for London, and that ask the Chair of London Resilience Forum to consider how London's preparedness to deal with a major incident may be impacted by a majority of the three main blue light emergency services workers living outside London. I know that, like many Londoners, emergency service workers are struggling with high housing costs. Just last week, my chair of the London Fire and Emergency Planning Authority, Assembly Member Twycross, and my Deputy Mayor for Housing, James Murray, visited Millwall Fire Station to speak with firefighters there about the problems they're facing. Assembly members know the proportion of new homes granted planning permission that were affordable fell under my predecessors to a shameful 13% in 2014 and 15. That's a terrible legacy and reminds that turning things around will be a marathon, not a sprint. As well as my team working on carrying through the good news about the record investment from the government in relation to affordable housing, my team and I have been working in discussions with public sector landowners, including LFIPA, MOPAC, the NHS, about the important role they can play in bringing forward their land for new and affordable housing. And this will feature in my housing strategy and other work my team is involved with. The new affordable homes we build will be a mix of low-cost rent, shared ownership, and London living rent, all of which will help emergency service workers and their families. For instance, 2 police constables on Met's starting salaries would be able to comfortably afford an average London living rent or shared ownership home. Finally, Lord Harris's report is extremely detailed and contains 127 recommendations. My team are considering them in detail, but I'm happy to commit to the top housing recommendations straight away. I've already asked the Chair of the London Resilience Forum to consider how London's preparedness to deal with a major incident may be impacted by so many emergency service workers living outside of London.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I mean, it is a really important issue for the city, but it's clearly not simple to solve for the key workers. I can see how chasing this up, and I have done this a couple of times now. For example, I spoke to the Minister, Gavin Barwell, about the site of Holloway Prison, owned by the Ministry of Justice. And there's lots of different bits of government who have the land. Your police and crime plan doesn't mention it, though, and it seems to me like you're the right person to provide the link and a clear strategy for key workers for London. So will there be, in your housing strategy, maybe as part of the London Land Commission, a clear strategy and targets for key workers that we can keep an eye on?
So the Minister for London and the Minister for Housing, Gavin Barwell, who is working very collegiately with City Hall, is trying his best with us to persuade government departments to talk to us when a surplus piece of public land becomes available. Outside of London, the HCA get involved. Inside London, nobody's involved. Often the NHS or the police are good at what they do, the core functions of health or police, and they're not good at using surplus land for public good. And so we're hoping we can come to a deal with the government so we can be the ringmaster when it comes to this land and use it for things that we need land for, which is affordable housing.
And so you will publish some kind of progress report and outline of how that's...
Well, I can't publish a progress report because we're in negotiations with the government. What I can say is that the Minister for London understands the problem in London and is working with us to deal with government in relation to surplus public land.
Okay. The Minister also gave a very, very enthusiastic response about community-led housing, and I think co-ops and community land trusts are absolutely ideal for key workers. But the National Custom and Self-Build Association has found that although about 18,000 individuals have put themselves on the self-build registers that councils are setting up, very few have so far recorded any groups of people registering. So I think the potential funding, you're talking about the way you're finding land, that's all good, but the final part of the picture is people, groups getting together to set up co-ops. So I think to help key workers and get them thinking about co-ops, CLTs, perhaps you can consider working with organisations who do this to bring them into GLA workplaces, to talk to our police, firefighters, transport workers. It seems like an ideal way to kickstart this.
Well, I mean, my Deputy for Housing, James Murray, is talking to all London councils, and I'll ensure that he raises this with them in relation to the work they do to have more co-ops.
Okay, fantastic. I'll push you on that later. Finally, I asked you in July if you'd encourage, and you said you would encourage the GLA functional bodies to offer tenancy deposit loans to their workers. How far have you got with that?
We're hoping to make a decision soon.
Okay, I will follow that up in written questions. Thank you very much.
Assembly Member Dismore.
Can I say, Mr Mayor, how pleased I was to see that the previous Mayor's plans to sell off Clerkenwell Fire Station, where there are a number of